What is up, guys? Back in the kitchen today with my messy hair. Guys, I had a request to finally, someone asked to see how I make my seitan steaks. So guys, for all you vegans out there, get ready. You're going to find something amazing today, or at least I hope that you feel that way. And for all you non-vegans, why would you want to pay attention to this video? Guys, the steaks that I'm going to be making today, okay, although vegan, they are super low in calorie. You get a ton of food per serving for those small amount of calories, and you get a solid amount of protein. You're looking at least 41 grams of protein per piece of steak that you're looking at, and it's going to be super filling. You guys are going to love this. Get ready, guys. I really think you're going to appreciate it. Let's get rolling. It's a really quick recipe. I just want to say that real quick. It's a quick recipe, and that's good because I'm starving. All right, so let's get going with this. Let's get to making these seitan steaks. First thing you're going to need is an assortment of spices, okay? Now, guys, these steaks, you can make them taste like whatever you want. Whatever you want, it's up to you. I personally, absolutely love this roasted garlic and herb seasoning, okay? I also use a little MSG to wake up that food because it really does help. If you're against MSG, don't use it, all right? So I like to use those. I also like to use, in everything I make, cayenne pepper and this pink Himalayan sea salt. All right? These are the spices that we're going to be focusing on today. And I also have another thing. This is like a really big deal in my opinion, is bouillon cubes, okay? This is going to add a ton of flavor to your stuff. All right, so what you're going to do is, first things first, before you do anything, grab a pot, all right? Now, I already have some leftover broth from the other day when I was cooking, okay? So this is the pot that you're going to build your broth in. Now, let's say you're starting from scratch. I'm going to use, my leftover broth. I'm also going to add a little more. What you're going to do is you're going to fill your pot up with water, okay? Fill your pot up with water. Keep in mind, you might want to use a bigger pot than you expect to use, even maybe a little bigger than the pot I have, because the seitan itself expands, all right? So you're going to throw in your bouillon cube, and you're going to mix in your water. Now, you're going to start to warm that pot up, okay? I'm going to have to get my lighter over here. Now, as you can see, I'm not filling the pot all the way up. I'm not doing that because that seitan is going to expand, okay? You're going to throw your top on, and you're going to let that simmer, okay? That hot water is going to break the bouillon cube down. You're also going to add some spices to that, okay? Throw some spices in. Guys, there's no specific amount of spice. Keep in mind, you want it to be flavorful. There's a lot of water in this pot. So you want that water to be saturated with flavor. Okay? Throw in that salt. Okay? Throw in that cayenne pepper. Love that cayenne pepper. And you're going to let that water just warm up. You're not going to get it boiling hot because you're going to see why in a minute. We're going to be using that broth when we make our actual seitan steak, which is coming up in a moment, all right? Now, another thing I like to add is you can add, says organic tamari sauce. It's basically soy sauce without soy. I just happen to have this. If I had soy sauce, I'd use the soy sauce. But I love this stuff. I think it's fantastic. Okay, I add this to it as well. That gives it a very beefy flavor, especially when you add in that soy sauce and the MSG, okay? Again, if you're against MSG for whatever reason, you don't have to use it. But guys, I've done my research. I do not believe that MSG, especially in small quantities, is harmful to you at all. Okay, so the next thing that you're going to do is, okay, let me just give this a quick stir. You let that warm up. You want that cube to break down, okay? Because that's going to really give it a lot of flavor. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move over to the pot that we're going to be making our actual steak from, okay? Now, I'm using Anthony's Vital Wheat Gluten. I got this from Amazon, okay? This stuff is amazing, but I put it in a container of my own choosing. Now, Anthony's is 1/4 cup per serving, okay? So keep that in mind, 1/4 cup. I got my spoon here. Guys, this is super high in protein, okay? So super high in protein. Got my 1/4 cup. I like to make sure that it's exactly 1/4 cup as best as possible because I'm counting my calories, guys. I'm going to add 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, now why am I using 6? Can you use 7? Can you use 5? Can you use 4? Absolutely. Guys, it's up to you. I like 6 because it gives me a very good amount of protein. The 6 servings of Anthony's Vital Wheat Gluten that we're using today, along with these pinto beans, okay, 110 calories each, is going to give me, when we have our finished product, it's going to give me around 261 calories per serving of the steak that we're making at 41 grams of protein. So that's good enough for me. I want at least 40 grams of protein per steak. That's important to me, guys, because I'm bodybuilding, okay? So now, what we're going to do next is, don't mind that I'm talking, I'm not on the camera. We're going to be getting to this quick, okay? So what we're going to do is, we're going to rinse the top of our beans because I don't like dirt, and we're going to open up these beans. Okay, these beans are 110 calories, right? 110 calories per serving that's in the container. There are 3.5 servings in the container, so that's 110 calories times 3.5. Keep that in mind. The whole can is not 110 calories. It's 110 times 3.5. Keep that in mind. The Anthony's Vital Wheat Gluten is 100 and, I believe, 10 calories per 1/4 cup. All right? So keep that in mind. That's 110 times 6 because we use 6 servings. All right. Let's come over here to the blender. All right, guys. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your beans. Remember, you can use any beans that you want. Anything you want. You can use lentils, you can use black beans, whatever you want. Just keep in mind you have to keep in mind the calories, okay? Because you want it to add up to a calorie range that's good for you. I've done the math. I know that this can and the amount of servings of Anthony's wheat gluten that I've used is perfect for my needs. All right, so you want to keep that in mind. If you missed out that video on how to count calories, I'll link it up at the end. It's included in a video that I made about how to make seitan burgers. Maybe you guys will find that interesting too. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be taking these beans, okay? Take these beans. We're going to be blending them up really nice and smooth, okay? Maybe shake this up. You want it to be nice and smooth, velvety. That's what you want, nice and velvet. It's important. Okay, good enough. You got that nice and soft. Let's come back over here. Okay? Sorry about all the moving, guys. We're going to come back over here to our seitan, right? Well, to our wheat gluten. It's not seitan yet because it's not cooked. So we're going to come to our gluten here. And you can add some more spices to your gluten if you like. I like to add a little bit of everything that I added to the broth. I like to add that in, the salt, except for the liquid ingredients. I don't add liquid ingredients to this yet. Okay? A little bit of everything. Whatever you like, guys. You can make these taste like burgers. You can make them, you could use steak seasoning to make them taste like steak. You could use chicken seasoning to make them taste like chicken. Whatever you like, guys, that's what you do. Basically, it's like whatever you want it to taste like, that's the type of seasoning you're going to add. There's no rules, guys. Mix it up. Mix up that seasoning real good till you can't see the seasoning anymore. You want everything to be coated in white from the wheat gluten. Okay. Now, I shut off the pot of boiling broth that we had going because I don't want it to be too hot, right? I just kind of want to get it warmed up, have that cube, that bouillon cube break down a little bit. The reason why I don't want it to be too hot, guys, is because we're going to be using it now in this. We're going to take any spoon you want. I just like to use the same spoon that I use the Vital Wheat gluten in, right? We're going to come over here. Maybe I'll give it a quick stir, right? Give it a quick stir. Get those flavors moving. Nice. Let me taste this real quick. Delicious. That tastes fantastic. You're going to take a scoop of this, right? You're going to add it to this. Okay, I added 3. Now you're going to take these beans. Actually, guys, the first thing you should do, because I'm on camera, I'm forgetting. The first thing you should do while the ingredients are dry, before you add the liquid, should be add the beans. But it's not too big a deal. I'm sure it'll come out fine. But you're going to take your dry ingredients. You're going to add the beans. You're going to mix it up. And then after you mix it up with the beans, you're going to add your liquid. But I'm going to make this work regardless. It should come out fine. But just keep that in mind. That's normally what I do. I just forgot since I'm on camera over here, but it's all good. So your hands are going to get a little bit dirty, okay? But you're going to want to mix this stuff up really nice, okay? Squeeze it together. Might be kind of gross to you if you're not used to cooking, but guys, the finished product is going to be pretty fantastic. Mix it up real good. Remember, I'll just say it one more time. Normally, what I do is I have my dry ingredients. I add all the dry ingredients, mix it up. Then I will add the beans, the crushed beans, and I'll do this with the crushed beans. Then, when you can't mix it anymore with the crushed beans, you add your liquid, your broth. Okay, but I don't know if it's gonna make a huge difference, but that's just the steps I normally follow. In all honesty, right now it doesn't seem to be mattering. It seems to be fine. I'm just telling you what I normally do. Might work out this way perfectly. Now, while we're mixing this up, keep in mind, you want all the dry ingredient. You see how on the bottom there's still some dry stuff? You want that all soaked into the seitan right here. You want all that dry ingredient up. I like to take my fist like this and mash it and move it around. And if the dry ingredient is not being soaked up fully, I'll add a little bit more. Like right now, I'm going to add a little bit more broth. Okay? Just dump that in there. And you're going to keep adding broth until all that dry ingredient is soaked up. Okay? You don't want to waste your wheat gluten. You counted your calories for it. So you want to make sure that's going in your stomach. Alright? It's too good to go to waste. And oh, in the meantime, you can always turn your stove back on. Because now you're going to want your broth to start boiling. Okay? So in the meantime, while you're mixing it, just throw that stove back on, put the top on, so that your broth doesn't evaporate. And heat that up till it's bubbling, okay? Keep mixing this. Nice, we're doing good, we're doing good. It looks like it did not matter that I mixed up the order earlier. So that's fantastic, I'm happy to hear that. So, whether it matters to you or not, it looks like it's fine. But I would still do it the way I described it earlier. I would put the beans in to the dry ingredient and then mix it, and then after that add the broth. I would just still do that. That's up to you. As you can see, it still worked out just fine. Okay, I'm going to move you again. Okay, now this is what we're going to do. I don't know what kind of surface you guys are working on, but I like to work on this. I'm going to take my seitan, right? Take my seitan. Now I'm going to spread it. I'm going to spread it on this board. Actually, let me knead it a little more. Guys, you want it to be firm. You see how it's kind of sticking to the board a little bit? If it's too sticky and you can't work with it, just go like this, like it's dough. Knead it together. And that's going to firm it up. It's going to create tension. And then it's going to be easier to work with. You see how it kind of firmed up because I'm folding it like this? It's the same thing you do with bread dough when you're making bread. I don't know if you guys make bread, but you're going to do that. Nice. Okay, here we go. Now it's not sticking. As you can see, it's not sticking anymore to the table. All right. Now, guys, here's where it comes to you. You can make this extremely thin if you want, or you can make them thick. All right? Keep in mind, it's completely up to you. You can make it like a nice thin chicken cutlet, or you can make it a fat steak. Keep in mind, if you want it super thin, then you need to make it very thin because it expands when you put it in the broth. So you'll have to make it super, super thin, okay? Now, guys, remember, you're tracking your calories. Well, if you're tracking your calories, then you have to remember, and you can make it, by the way, guys, you can make it any shape you want. But keep in mind, if you're tracking your calories, you want to make all the pieces even. Because all the calories that are in this, when you cut it up, you're going to divide those calories by however many pieces you have. Okay? So I'm going to be dividing it by 4. I'm going to end up with 4 pieces. That's how I know the total amount of calories in this is going to be divided by 4. That's going to give me my per serving calorie amount. Okay? So like I said, I've done this plenty of times. It's going to come out to approximately 261 calories and 41 grams of protein if I divide this by 4. So we're going to divide it by 4. Chop this up right now. 1, 2, 3. Guys, it's never going to be perfect. You're never going to have the perfect size. Just try your best. Just try your best. That's all you can do. That's all anybody can do. And we have perfect timing because now the broth is boiling. I'm going to lower that heat just a little bit. Lower that heat. There you go. And here's the fun part, guys. Here's the fun part. Take the top off while it's boiling. Take your steak. Let me move the camera. And just drop it in. There you go. Now, guys, you can, like I said, you can make these steaks any size or shape you want. You can even make meatballs the same way. I like to sometimes roll the seitan, not in a steak, but into a meatball, into a little ball. And I like to toss them in here. I flavor it to taste like a meatball. It's all in the seasoning, guys. It's all in the seasoning. Okay? You throw a good meatball seasoning into there, it's going to taste like a meatball. If you throw a good chicken seasoning, it's going to taste like a chicken. You guys get the idea. So now what you're going to do is, you'll turn up the heat a little more, right? Everybody's stove's different. Turn it up nice and slow. You don't want the pot to over bubble over. Remember, these expand. You're going to see them expand quickly. Okay? So keep it in there and boil it. let all the juice soak up into this thing. All right, so as you guys might be able to see, this thing is boiling up. You don't want it to boil over, obviously. I don't know how, if you guys are used to cooking or not, but I'll just mention this in case you're not used to cooking. Maintain a heat that's going to allow it to simmer and boil lightly so that it doesn't boil over, okay? So everyone's oven is different, like I said. Some ovens are better than others. Just maintain a heat that it's going to allow the broth to go like this without pouring out over the pot, okay? And you want to keep the top on the pot because you don't want the water to evaporate, or else you're going to end up with just seasoning in a pot and then there's going to be no liquid in there because it's just going to evaporate, all right? Now, you're going to boil this anywhere from like 20 minutes to, honestly, it's probably done at 15 minutes, but I would say just to allow the seitan to soak up as much as possible, I'd say do it for half an hour. Boil it for half an hour. You can't overboil it. So you can't screw that up. You can't overboil it. I've even boiled this because I got busy. I've boiled it for an hour. It never tastes bad. All right? So remember, just keep an eye on it. Don't forget about it. Know that it's boiling. Set your timer. Get some things done. I like to use this time right now to clean up. So what I'm going to do is, while this is boiling, I'm going to go clean up, do the dishes, so I don't have to do them later, and we'll come back to see the finished product in a few minutes. All right, guys. See you soon. Guys, so I did some cleaning, and I figured I would also explain to you something real quick. So as you can see, this is boiling, right? This is boiling up real nice. I just like to baste them a little bit. Keep in mind, guys, the steak, each piece is only going to soak up a certain amount of broth. Only a certain amount. You're going to have leftover broth, guys. I suggest saving it for the next time you make one of these steaks. Okay? I wouldn't waste it, but that's just me. Now, a couple of things I wanted to mention. One, there are calories in this broth because you added some soy sauce, you added this, you added that. There's some calories. But guys, is it going to affect you in a horrible way? Because, you might be thinking, oh, I counted my calories, but I'm not counting the calories for the broth itself. Guys, I highly doubt that the small amount of calories, because this is such a big pot, okay? And so the calories that you use are distributed amongst this huge pot of water. Guys, you're looking at a couple of calories extra each. I have personally never had an issue. If you want to get super detailed, you can count in all the calories. You can measure the soy sauce. You can measure this, measure that. Guys, I don't think it's necessary. You're probably going to burn off those small amount of calories just in your daily walking. Okay? Now, the second thing I wanted to mention. Why did we use beans? Could you just simply use wheat gluten? Absolutely you could. But I like the beans for two reasons. One, they add a bit of carbs to my meal. Okay, I don't want just a protein meal because that protein meal is not going to do its best to sustain me throughout the day. I want some carbs in there too for energy, quick energy, all right? That's number one. The main reason why we're using beans is if you were to just boil wheat gluten, you get a thick, huge, heavy piece of protein, cooked protein. Now, while that's not bad, it's not going to have a nice, soft texture because it's not mixed with anything. Adding the beans is going to allow the texture of this steak. Here, take a look at the texture. Take a look at the texture that we have here. This is a nice, soft meat. Okay? Nice and soft. If you were to just boil the wheat gluten, which you can do without the beans incorporated, you would end up having a rubbery, thick piece of, we'll refer to it as meat. A rubbery, thick piece. As opposed to, let me show you how nicely this is going to cut. Let me show you this. Look at this. Look at that. That is beautiful. That is something of beauty. Nice and soft. Great consistency. Great texture, okay? That's so good. That thing bursts with flavor. Oh, that's too good. I am hungry. All right, so I just want to explain those things to you. We'll get back to this when it's done. Honestly, it's probably done already, but because I want to clean this board, I'm just going to let it boil a little longer. See you in a couple minutes. Everyone, we are back, and as you guys can see, these things are fully expanded. They are not soaking up anything else. Again, they were probably done about 10 minutes ago, but I wanted to clean up that board. Oops, made a spill. I just can't get through a session of cooking without spilling something. I'm glad my wife loves me. Anyway, so I'm going to shut this water off, shut this boil off, okay? And now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. I'm going to be using bread, guys. Obviously, I'm going to be using this bread. It's 40 calories each. It's Schmidt brand bread. It's just regular white bread, guys. I mean, I'm not too happy with it, but it's got low calories. So you got to make some kind of, you know, what would the word be? You got to choose your battles. A better bread is going to have more calories, right? Now, this is the stuff I like to put on it, okay? Well, you can put anything on it, but what's the difference between these, okay? Frank's Red Hot, I think you all know, is fantastic. A1 steak sauce, you probably know, is fantastic. What's the difference, guys? The difference is Frank's doesn't have calories. And A1 has 15 calories per tablespoon. So don't forget, you can put whatever you want on these steaks. You can put lettuce on it, tomatoes, you can put this, you can put that, you can put both of these. Whatever you put on, guys, make sure you're counting the calories for that. You don't want to have a nice low-calorie, high-protein meal and screw it up because you didn't count the calories for the sauce. Do not do that to yourself. It's what everybody does. People are eating salad with like half a jar of ranch on it, and they're like, I'm not losing weight. Well, it's because you just ate 500 calories in ranch. So, the next thing I'm going to do is, now, as these steaks cool off, okay, because they're going to be hot, obviously, as these steaks cool off, they get a little bit thicker, okay, so you can move them around without them breaking. But when they're still hot, they tend to want to break a little bit. So what am I going to do? I'm going to be delicate with these, okay, until they're cooled off, all right? Now, I'm gonna do my best to take a steak. Keep in mind, these things are going to be overflowing with juice, guys. The flavor is going to be outstanding. They're going to be super juicy and delicious. I'm going to be putting it in a strainer to kind of take some of the juice out because I don't want this bread to become soaked with juice and then it breaks the bread, okay? So, let me see if you can see what I'm doing. Yes, you can see what I'm doing. There you go. I'm lifting it up from the center, plopping it in the strainer, okay? I'm going to let it sit just for a second. Remember, you guys can dress this up however you want. Whatever works for you. Cheese, lettuce. I just personally, because I watch my calories and because they just, honestly, guys, they have so much flavor in them. You don't need to put too much of anything on them. It'll just probably take away from the flavor. I just personally like to leave them with a little A1 steak sauce and the broth. So I'm going to just, as you can see, squeeze this out a little bit. Okay. I'm going to come over here. Plop that on the bread. Guys, I need to tell you, the way I've been eating has truly made a difference in the amount of muscle that I've been building. This is almost solid protein, and it's so few calories. Guys, this is 261 calories plus 40 calories per slice of bread, okay? For the amount of protein you're getting and the amount of food you're getting, this is super low in calories, in my opinion anyway. This is going to fill me up, and I'm going to be good. I'm going to use my A1. If you want no calories at all, you can go ahead and you can use the Frank's Red Hot. 15 calories of A1 steak sauce right here. Look at that. Covers the whole thing. You don't need more than that. 261 calories plus 80 calories for the bread and 15 calories for the steak sauce. That is good. Guys, this is, in my opinion, a gourmet meal. Other than the bread. But hey, like I said, you got to choose your battles. So this is it, guys. This is how you make the steaks. I hope this was helpful. I really hope you guys appreciated it. I'm glad that you guys asked to see it because I think that it's going to really help you. All right, guys, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Be safe and enjoy.